of our ways. Let's jump on over to the live scene. Okay, start off the technical analysis right here. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Lol, lol, lol. Just fix up the screen so it looks nice for you at home. Take two, says Zoner. That's right, starting off here. Here we go with the... with the technical analysis. Right, so looking at this, first off, what have we got on screen? That's the RSI over there, and we're looking at it on the 12-hour time frame and making a comparison between the two most recent lows, acknowledging that the RSI has come below the previous low over here, while the yeah, we fixed the screen issues now, by the way, Steve. You'll be okay. Yeah, while the price action itself didn't go lower. So of course that is the tentative signs of hidden bullish divergence. Okay, so that's your most positive thing for you at the minute. The most positive aspect in terms of the bull trend. Got caps lock. Bull trend positives. Just put a positives like that, right? Pluses, and we've got potential hidden divergence. Bull divergence on RSI 12-hour. Okay, so that's kind of, you know, the first positive thing that we can really say, other than the one I think that speaks for itself, which is essentially that we have an uptrend that we're looking at, right? We've been in an uptrend for quite a while, so there's that. Okay, looking down towards the 4-hour then, how does that kind of compare? And we can say the second positive thing is that we have managed to maintain the 200 simple moving average, as we can see here. So we've managed to maintain that, and it's a reasonable low, having come in and tested the 200 simple for the first time since all the way back there in October on the 4-hour time frame. So this was an inevitability of sorts, and we've done it now, so that's good. Okay, so that can be a second positive thing. And a third positive thing we can say is the bullish divergence that we're seeing between the two most recent lows at our little pivot point here in the market. Bit of bullish divergence there in the 4-hour time frame, giving us a little bit of hope looking forwards, as we're kind of trying at the minute, struggling, if you like, to get above the 8-period simple or exponential moving average here, as you can see, which has been dominating price action really for the last wee while. And we could change this over to different periods as well. It doesn't need to be 8. Oh, it's actually set to 10 currently. Put it to 8. You can see we've not managed to open and close the above that, and of course the 10-period exponential moving average is what's being challenged by that right now. So there we have that. We can add those things to it, so we can say we're above the 200 simple on the 4-hour time frame, and we have bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. So that's where we are. But of course this is going to be a look towards the weekend as well, so I want to stick on the higher time frames overall. But we can put this sort of regular divergence, bullish, have to make sure I get the words right, regular bullish divergence on 4-hour. Right, now that's still not necessarily confirmed, in the same way that we haven't necessarily confirmed that we've actually managed to, you know, see the 200 active support. But we'll write these things in here anyway. SMA providing support, or you could say a successful test of it, if you liked, kind of thing, right? So those are our sort of positives up there at the minute for us, and of course that's all very, very rosy. I'm not going to write on there that we're challenging the 8-period moving average at the minute, because, you know, that doesn't really kind of stand the test of time. Instead, what you should really be doing with that yourself is kind of looking towards this and asking how that's progressing over the period of the weekend, and if we're able to maintain any sort of stance above that in general. Looking here then, just checking the chat as well to see if anything's just to get your attention. Cheers, by the way, K-Talk, to get my attention there. It worked. It worked. Thanks very much. What about that bot? Can I ban the bot? Let me see. I'm looking for options here on the when I click on his name. Rocky. Well, let me ban Rocky. Let me see. Can I hide user on this? And I think it must say channel afterwards. So bye bye Rocky. Rocky is now hidden. This user's messages will be hidden. Well, there we go. He's all blocked as the old Rocky. Rocky Outcrop was hidden by Rocky Outcrop. Strange, that one, but he was impersonating me. So what do we need to look to then for the positivity over the next wee while? And when will this start to look like a confirmed low then, that we can actually say that tentative bullish divergence we're seeing on the 4-hour time frame is actually a thing. And do we have any sort of bullish divergence in the past to look to between these two lows, or anything that's failed to give us any sort of ideas? As we can see, when we came at this orange sort of pivot point in the market, we didn't actually have any of that bullish divergence, or then we went on towards the downside. This time around we do so far, but we're only coming up as far as, you know, our previous lows before the drop, not managing to really break any structure, so we're not really quite there yet. So I'm going to say, if we take out this, so if you want to add this as a conditional thing, if we take out the 8-period moving average, you know, and move towards the top side thereafter, get a bit of follow through and take out some of these levels in there at the 18,300, then we have it, you know, and that could be quite good to see. If we only make it as far as these areas and then drop away, well, then that could maybe just be the bullish divergence playing itself out as much as it needs to. So we could say in here, looking for confirmation based on taking out small period EMAs this weekend, for instance, and obviously the previous highs and lows. Okay, so we have our big ass notes over there. They can kind of just chill out at the top, and we can then start to kind of then draw in a different picture, I suppose, if we look at some other things as well in the near term. We also have the sort of bullish divergence here on the MACD. We also have it on the DMI. By the way, if you're interested, I suppose here's another explainer. The negative DMI and the negative DI and the positive DI, you're looking to continually achieve higher highs alongside the trend that they would represent. So the negative one, you look for higher highs as it gets lower lows, and with the positive one you look for higher highs as you get higher highs. So it's kind of straightforward, the positive one, the negative one less so. As you can see, we didn't achieve a higher high on the DMI here, showing that diminishment in strength as we look towards those two previous lows. Okie dokie. So that's where we find ourselves. Now we don't have that hidden bullish divergence over here on the MACD or the DMI. That's just purely existing on the 12-hour time frame between, or is it on the 12-hour, these two? No, and no. Well, yeah. The DMI seems to have it. Yeah, the DMI has it, although it's in chop at the minute, and that's a little bit kind of a little bit of a non-statement, really. So, right, cool. What about the 24-hour time frame then? Where have we come from, and what are we doing, and what's the overall story? Well, look, we are at weak right now. This is weakness. This is what it looks like to be in a weak position, where you could see, obviously, the rolling over of the price action. And this will all come down to whether or not we're able to take out this blue line. So over the period of the weekend, I'm going to have my eyes peeled for 17 grand. If we do take out 17 grand, then I am going to then start looking down immediately towards that 16,280 or so price point, where we have this, or 16,200, whatever, price point, where we have this line here, and with an eye on the 50 simple period moving average here on the daily time frame in between times, just as a sort of pointer to look to. Now that would also be coming in at around about where you'd find a really solid retrace level in terms of the 786 or so, in around about this area, when you look at between this low and this high that we had over there on the 27th up to the 1st of December. So we would have that coming in there as well to offer up more confidence if we do see things going down. So our three key areas really to bear in mind are 17,630, 17,085, and then 16,200. And why am I talking about that? Well, that's worth talking about. Now, of course, as well, this could obviously, if those things happened, it'd be talking about having a gap on the daily time frame, most likely for the CMEs. So we're keeping an eye out on where they could be going as well. And of course, bearing in mind that this weakness could of course last longer. In terms of the CMEs, we're seeing this weakness in the markets here quite distinctly, as we're below the 8-period moving average here in the 24-hour time frame, and evidently going to close below it today as well, unless we see some resurgence in price of over $600 within the next few hours. And of course that could happen, although nothing is telling us that that is likely to happen in terms of looking at these oscillators and everything else that we have on the go. And the risk of course then is sort of playing towards that is far too great. We don't actually have a cross negatively between the DMI, the positive DI and the negative DI here on the DMI, and the ADX is still above the sort of 40 area, so still very much positioned strongly. But we're following on from bearish divergence here along the way with the DMI, and we're looking at a cross, and it's very much distinctly pointing towards the downside. We could see a few of these things kind of happening at once. We also have the swing failure point to bear in mind as well with regards to these highs here that were divergent, and we've taken that out so far. So we're currently on the way, this weakness being signified quite clearly by taking out the swing failure point. If you don't know what swing failure point is, by the way, I've explained it a few times in the past, but we've gone past this zone really so far. So we'll be looking to see if this operates in terms of resistance over the weekend, or if we can take it back out again in terms of looking for positivity. Obviously that goes hand in hand with retraces towards the top side. This is obviously the CME chart though. If this happens over the period of the weekend, then we want that sustained strength to stay there in the markets until Monday. Now the way that the prices are positioned with regards to today, what could we be looking at in terms of gaps? Well, if the prices move towards the top side into that 18k area, 18.2, 18.3, and we're operating like that as we open back up, then we probably wouldn't actually have a gap on the CME chart here. And likewise, if we were looking towards the downside, 17,560, you know, if the prices go down to that 17,200 or so price level here, you might also not actually even have a gap on the CMEs given the distance that we've traversed today. I suppose we can put that into context. Actually, there was no premium on the CME today. That went away. So that's interesting as well to see that. Right now we're looking at a premium of $6, and obviously there's a 10-minute time delay there. So now we're no longer contangoed, and just as I'm looking at the charts, it's flicked to 17,990, you know, versus the spot price of 17,990 something. So that was a bit of backwardation there. So the premiums completely disappeared into the close on the Friday. Nothing about this seems strong at the minute. Nothing about it seems strong. So any sort of upside potential over the weekend, I would probably classify as sort of weekend relief for those longers out there who are obviously then underwater, looking back up towards that 18,000. They want to look towards that 18,300-400 area. Before perhaps even then regretting not having improved their position beforehand, then leveraging up again there at that point before ultimately being wiped out. Perhaps if we see continuation towards the downside, even, you know, the risky movements do happening in it around about these price points when we're looking down towards the 236 in there at 16.5 grand, and it just adds more fuel to the fire. And that's how, of course, market turnarounds can happen with regards to, you know, the overall market getting involved in the play. So hey, you know, there we go. So you want to watch out for that happening. Okay, you want to watch out for that happening. Now there's a few other things that we can do as well to put all of this movements that we've seen recently into context, like diving down towards the medium time frame charts, you know, where the Bollinger Bands here, and seeing on the 4 hour that we came down. We are tracking this towards the downside, haven't taken out the median line obviously because that's the 20 simple period moving average and we know where that is. The 50 simples right up there at the top end of the Bollinger Band. You know, we could even retest this having crossed over that up there towards that 18,000 and still never regain the positivity so far. I think it's quite clear to say, you know, that until such times as we're back up into the mid to high 19,000s on all charts, that you're looking at of course negativity remaining in the market. And that's why I've got this laid out in a traffic light system so far, really, where you're looking between these orange lines as our two main points. So that's 18.5 and down to 17.6. Up towards the blue lines and down towards this blue line are clear profit taking targets where you might get inflections along the way before ever arriving at either of these two other lines here, which of course in and of themselves are distinct profit taking lines, but as well do offer up, you know, distinct pivot points and inflection points in the market where, you know, successfully traversing that area could lead to follow through. We're 22 minutes into the stream at the minute, and we started at about 8 minutes, so we've done about 12 minutes of TA on Bitcoin. Obviously this is all live. Let's just then kind of, you know, spice it up a little bit by diving down to the 15-minute time frame, taking a look at that real quick at what we've got on the go just here, just now, and ask, you know, how things could be doing by the time we come back to looking at this earlier on. Does Rocky have a video on swing failures? Asking for a friend, says Susan Warrender. No, I actually don't have a video specifically talking about that. It's just been referenced several times in the past, which you probably were a member of the channel at the time to see that. But you know, obviously it's just part and parcel of the delivery that I do on a daily basis. In terms of actually explaining it, maybe I don't have that. That's maybe something to think about adding to my education playlist. Thanks for the chit chat that's going on there between yourselves there as well. CME looks like it's going to close the week with a bearish engulfing candle, says. So maybe before we look at the 15-minute chart, we could take a quick look here at the CME's weekly chart here, since we are coming to a weekly. I would have gone to do the weekly stuff and all the rest of it later, but sure, I mean, yeah, unless unless we see the prices move back up above that 18, another $300 on the CMEs in the next few hours, we're definitely on the way towards doing that at the minute, with this satisfying move back into the Bollinger Band zone. And of course, looking at this in terms of the monthly time frame, we have a distance left to go. We'll probably see ourselves coming down to challenge the 16,500 area. In terms of like what's the most likely thing that's happening, this speaks for itself and it speaks volumes. It's just this simple image right here on both the charts. I've been banging on about this obviously since November, so we're all very much clued in here as to why this is happening. If you don't see any other channels talking about it and you don't see how this lines up with the blue line, that's profit taking line with that Bollinger Band and everything else, then you're watching the wrong YouTube channels. But I don't know, maybe other people don't know these things, but it's inexcusable not to. So down towards the small time frames then, how are we getting along, ladies and gents? What's going on here right now with this one? We have this downward movement. We had a little bit of upward movement, which has resulted in this Adam and Eve double peak type pattern just developing there. That's questionable. It's obviously not falling on from an upward trend, so to speak. Really, it was only trending up from 11:30 until 3:45. So it's not like a super long trend in terms of this time frame. When you look at this one as being a downward trend, and overall it's downwards. I wouldn't say it's Adam and Eve quite based off of that. However, we do have, pardon me, a couple of clear areas that are coming in here with obvious confluence for us. So here right at this line, we've got our previous low area in there where we saw the close on the 15 minutes. We have the 50 simple, we have the edge of the Bollinger Band. If we start going down that way, then we'll be tracing that towards the downside quite easily, I suppose, with a degree of lubrication towards the downside. Of course, if we kind of consolidate here for a while, then we're looking for the prices to come back up and not take out our previous highs. So then let's talk about it from that point of view and say, if we do go past this area just here in the next wee while, then of course things could start to look quite good. What this is obviously a lower high overall, and what this is here most recently seems to be shaping up to be a higher low, which would give you the idea that maybe what we're looking at for the next wee while is something along these sorts of lines. So we'll have to see how this transpires, and indeed if there's any gestalt nature to it when we come back later on and see, did we draw this in as a sort of symmetrical triangle prematurely? Should we really have been looking at it more along these sorts of lines, like that, etc, etc, etc. But let's leave that for just now, and we can come back and revisit this in a wee while. A couple of key things to point out since we are here and it's all there on chart and visible. We have the DMI showing us, have I done something? I hope I've not done something wrong. What's this say? Timothy Bloomberg just subscribed. Oh, quality, nice to have you here. You'll see your name appearing below mine there on the old video screen thing. Great to have you, Jeremy. Nice to have you here. By the way, to everybody, welcome, Jeremy. Like, what we have is a tradition here on the channel, and somebody subscribes and it comes up saying their name. Give this Jeremy a character, a lovely warm Rocky Outcroptician. Please, everybody all in the Rocky Outcroptician community there on the chat, welcome Jeremy. You may well have been watching the channel for quite a while, but it's nice to have you as a badge wearing member. Right, anyway, you could be looking at this in a number of different ways, and we'll come back to checking on this in the next wee while. Could we see volatility, and would that go along hand in hand with this consolidation of this period where we see tightening in the next 15 minutes? It sure could, buddy. And we also see that there's the consolidation happening on the oscillators down below, and we have this volatility background coming in here to tell us that to be warned, this is the musical chairs, the music has started. When it stops, let's expect that volatility. And we also have this sort of choppy pattern here with the crisscrossing happening naturally as you'd expect. So everything's looking like that for the next wee while. What are the numbers where those two blue lines line up? You should be able to see them on your screen with these blue highlighted boxes. 17,897, 18,066. That's what we're looking at roughly for the 15-minute time frame chart. So movements down below 17.9 obviously come with a bit of a bitter aftertaste. Movements up above 18,066 have that divine front of tongue sweetness about them, but of course these flavors can be short-lived. Let's just treat it like a pack of chewing gum, shall we? We might be spitting out that bubble gum in the not too distant future. We're going to jump on over now and take a look at Ethereum, and then we're going to move on to take a look at Chainlink, Tezos, and then, thanks to the suggestion of XRP is gold Steve, we'll be taking a look at XRP and XLM, which I guess isn't gold, right? But it's stars, and stars are made of Gold is made inside stars. Nice one. Yeah, good one. Jimothy Bloomberg. Not my name in any case, so it works for me, I suppose. So that was super nice. Not here for that, but you're great. You know what? Welcome, Jeremy. It's always great to have people. Obviously, I'm going to ask you to partake in that sort of friendly atmosphere the next time somebody else comes along. So hopefully, you're gonna give what you receive. We are seeing this weakness right now, by the way, in the 15-minute time frame. Worth pointing out that we're struggling to take out that area, and if we do move towards the downside, then this Gestalt thing, which I've obviously been intimating about with regards to consolidation, could easily become like a more of a channel S type movement. Let's see if that happens, in which case maybe you're going to call this like a bull flag with this sort of flagpole on the left, and maybe we see some sort of movements, flux around these zones. We'll have to see how that transpires. I'm not particularly bothered about predicting the future. Instead, I'm just trying to highlight some key and obvious risks for us so that we can come back and just kind of educate him. Oh, buddy, yeah. Thanks for the reminder, Dvoricus. How did we do in the end? Oh, did I destroy the 15-minute triangle? I hope I didn't in my KDoc. Oh, look at that. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Well, that's what we did. We tested off the 200. One way you could have had a sense of this being possible would have been, of course, whenever we pushed up past the Bollinger Band. I didn't have the Bollinger Bands on at the time when we were doing this. I'm not a Mr. Bollinger Band over here. By the way, I quite often say that with, everything that I look at. I'm not Mr. RSI. I'm not Mr. DMI. I'm not Mr. Bollinger Band. I'm not Mr. Moving Averages. I'm not Mr. Fibonacci Retracements. These are just some of the key tools. I'm certainly not Mr. Patterns or Mr. Diagonal Line or Mr. Horizontal. I'm not Mr. anything, right? We obviously approach things in different ways, but you can get the impression when you see some people on the old YouTubes that they're kind of, that they just, that for one reason or another they don't they stick to what they do, and that's it. I find it hard to see these when there's other colors on the background, so I like to make them white from time to time. So there's the Bollinger Bands there. As you can see, we pulled outside of it, moved back in, came down, retested the 8-period simple moving average. If you'd have been at this point here looking at it as we were testing 200, and we thought of this for different reasons, just to test of the 200. Could we come back down and retest this area where our blue line is at, and this symmetrical triangle downward sloping resistance come support line was at that point for our buy? I mean, we spelled this out. We spelled this out. That is cool. Nice one. Dvoricus comes in. Top show, mate. Yes. So you've all got the ability to do this yourself, right? Now, I didn't predict the future here. I don't think any of you would say that that's exactly what happened. What I did, though, was I said that we could be looking for a move outside of this if we push up past this zone. However, and we've got two areas up above to be aware of. We will, and we did see inflection at the 236 green horizontal line there, and then where this 200 simple moving average was coming in at, and because we went up there so soon, instead of doing anything else in the meantime, we had the risk here of carrying a position past this point here up when we've kind of front run it, and we've moved earlier outside of the area. The apex of this thing isn't until over here, but we moved out here, so we front ran it. So you've got that extra additional risk there where you're not really, you think you're working with a pattern, but you ain't really, and all that sort of stuff on the go. We also had this in the background. I highlighted at the time what's going to happen when the musical chairs stop. We might come back to exactly where we left off from. Is that me predicting the future? I'd like to tell you that it is absolutely, most categorically, sincerely not. However, what happened? The musical chairs stopped, the prices went up, we came right back to where we were when the musical chairs stopped. Honest to goodness, thanks so much, Dvoricus, for telling me to go back and look at this. Obviously, I take it for granted, but you were still kind of thinking, oh, how's this going to pan out? And you were doing it yourself. So brilliant. And yeah, there you go. There's TA. So I was asked one time in a live stream by somebody, what would you say to people who say that TA doesn't work? I would say that we've had a great time this evening during this live stream. Everybody's enjoyed themselves. And I'd stop talking to them because I'm not interested in continuing that conversation. That's what I do. I just walk away, probably. I don't know. I try not to be too rude. Would be my answer, I suppose. Try not to be too rude. Yeah, cool. Nice one. Excellent. Let me just check in with the chat so I've not missed anything. Could check back. Yes, did that. Top show mate. Yes, did that. Yes, always should be left on bit. The 50-minute chart in between the coins. Yeah. I forget about that. I mean, thanks for keeping me. Thanks for telling me that. I need these reminders, about how to format these things, because I just like engaging with you all. That's my main priority. Cool. Right, now I'm not going to go ahead and then do the next 15 minutes and do the next 15 minutes and do the next 15 minutes, right? I'm going to tune out now in a second. I just want you to all know that this is totally achievable yourself, and if you want to develop towards being that consistent self-reliant trader, there's probably no better place than right here on YouTube. And tell you what, when you get to that point, I would really, really like it if you didn't just go away again thereafter, although you probably could and you'd be fine. Your trading career would go from zero to hero, and that would be great. But I would love it if we could all surround ourselves with a community of 1,000 good traders. Can you imagine if there was 1,000 people out there who were all saying all this sort of stuff already, and it was just a case of me opening up the charts and coming in and saying, how are you getting along? And somebody saying, by the way, we're about to do this here on this thing, and it just be like, yeah, cool, I agree, even if it's completely, or even no, I don't agree, because it doesn't matter to me one jot if we actually have the same trade idea coming up or whatever, or if we can see. I just want to know what the risks are. I want to identify the risks, and that's why I do in every single one of these episodes. And then of course it looks like predicting the future, but it isn't. So if you get to the point where you feel like you can predict the future, make sure you come back. If you get to the point where you feel like you can predict the future, but you know that it's risk management and you're a really self-reliant independent trader, I would invite you to come back, because I would really like it if you to be my friend, the friend of the people in the community, all that good stuff. And you can imagine how things will grow as well over time. I'll also be looking to have people helping other people learn how to trade, along the lines of that idea of shit rolls downhill or whatever. I've been doing these YouTube streams for this year. I've made in total less than $500 from doing it. It's completely not about that. This is me kind of putting in the groundwork to build a community of all of us, everybody you're seeing there in that chat. This is what this groundwork's for. Then it'll get to a point when more people come into the community and we'll have this solid groundwork. And at that point, then some of you all will be able to help these new people arriving into the community to become self-reliant independent traders as well, and build up that cohort of 1,000 great traders. And can you imagine the impacts that we could have in the market together as 1,000 good traders, and not as a pump and dump group, not like that, not like Ivan on Tech's pay money pump and dump group, not like that. Yes, that's what it is. He runs the pump and dump group. In any other stock market, it would be illegal and he would be arrested and put in jail, but in crypto it's unregulated and he isn't. Yes, it's a boiler room pump and stump group. Yes, it's a boiler room. Yes, it's illegal. That's what he does. But would I want to do that? Not at all. Instead, what I would want to do is to have 1,000 good traders around me, and just that environment alone, this fertile soil that we'll create, will grow many magical beanstalks, believe you me. We're at 18,120 at the minute. We've come back down, retested this symmetrical triangle. We've also tested a couple of other key areas in the recent past, such as the 200 simple on the 15-minute time frame and the top end of that Bollinger Band. We're currently waiting to see if we actually manage to sustain this area as support. It looks like we currently are, but of course this is very tentative on the small term time frames. On the 15 minutes, we did get a turnaround here towards the lower end as we came in with a slightly bullishly divergent low, and it set us up for what is an upward sloping right angled upward sloping inverse head and shoulders, with a 60% chance, of course, overall that we don't actually manage to break out of it. From the 4-hour time frame up above, we're looking down the way and seeing that we've had this downward trend. We've got key areas that we've managed to come in at and find support, this orange line being a key one of them, for example, and we're seeing this having acted as support with the bullish divergence here at the low end. So, and then moving past this, of course, that would be really positive for the prices to get past this orange line up above, and it'd be pretty darn negative to be going down past that price down below. If you're interested in the the analysis for Ethereum, Chainlink, Tezos and all the rest of it, then you will find them in this episode. I have got chat in the thing. If you scroll up, you'll see a yellow highlighted name. That's my name, putting in a wee note about where to find your information if that's what you're looking for. And I myself will be back again this time or so on Monday, probably around 7 p.m, 8 p.m UK time, for another one of these streams, unless of course I get a massive amount of people coming and tell me it's the wrong time of the day to be doing them all. Right, troops, you all have a good night. Cheers, Rocky. Bye all, says K-Doc. Catch you later, Captain. I hope you have a fantastic night. See you later, Dvorkis. You've been a charm in the show today. Thanks so much for taking part as ever. TradeSpotting, you are a legend. Thank you so much to K-Doc. Yes, I know. I hope you have a really good night. Sleep well, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for Smoking Token, the latest subscriber to the channel, and I really do appreciate you coming along here and asking for rep to be done. I'm glad I was able to help you out there. Good night to Susan Warrender. Thank you, Rocky. You rock, says Susan. Rock, Susie, you rock as well. Cheers, Rocky. Take care, everyone, says Navanethan. Davarkus says cheers all. We also had Richard coming back to the chat room earlier and gracing us with his presence, having sat there just lurking in the background watching along. We also had, of course, Shivam, and can't quite tell if he's serious, if he's trolling sometimes with that guy. Hands up, don't shoot, haha, he says. Nice one. Good to have you here as well, my buddy. Of course, you're in the Discord, I do believe, as well, and we've chatted as well a few times. In fact, I know who you are. You're my good Scottish friend. You're Scottish. You're a Scottish friend. You are from Scotland. Yes. Fantastic. Fellow Celtic fan, I do believe. Apologies to anybody who doesn't support Celtic, but you're probably feeling all right if you don't. We also had, of course, Zoner, who has been joining us